Hi everybody and welcome back to the Stamperia Ooh La La mini album tutorial series designed for Scrap and Create. As a reminder, all of the products that I am using from the Ooh La La collection are linked in the description box below to the Scrap and Create website, so you can just go ahead and click on those links to purchase all of these products to follow along with the tutorial. So let's get started. In this tutorial, we're going to begin decorating the back side of page 3. So first I'm going to open up the front side just so that it will sit flat and be easier to decorate. I'm going to start by placing another ribbon pull here on the side. So I have a 3-inch piece. I've marked the center of my front flap and I'm going to add my adhesive here first. And then make my loop and apply this down, making sure that it doesn't hang over the edge of my page. From the 8x8 paper, I have cut this image. It was here. First, I cut this to 4 3/8 by 5 3/8. Then I cut 1/8 of an inch off of this side so that it was centered here. So this piece is 4 1/4 inches. Then I did the same thing with the bottom. I cut 1/8 of an inch off so that I didn't cut the flowers off here. I've rounded all 4 corners here, and I've come and rounded the corners on this. I forgot to do this in the build, so I did round those corners, and I also rounded all 4 corners of the one below it. I'm going to take this piece and apply it here, right to the center of my piece. Then I also have another piece. This is from the darker blue cardstock. It's 3/4 of an inch by 3 1/4 inches. And I'm going to place this here just to cover this little tiny section next to the first flap. Next, I'm going to open up this flap and place a magnet over here. So I'm going to place it centered top to bottom and a little bit further from the edge here so that the paper will cover it completely. Then from my dark blue paper, I have one piece that's 4 1/4 by 5 1/4. I have rounded my corners and inked my edges. I'm going to place this one here to cover that magnet. I had a scrap with some of this green paper laying around. It is, I believe, from the 12 by 12 paper. It was a scrap cut off from the fussy cut off of another piece. I'm going to use this to cover here. So this is 3 1/4 by 3/4, and I'm going to place this here in this little extension piece. I'm also going to place my second magnet on the flap, and I'm going to close it to place it on the page. Next, we're going to add some embellishments here. So I have this chipboard piece and I'm going to be placing it right in here. I've got this chipboard piece I'm going to be placing right up here at the top right. And then I've got these pieces from the collectibles. I'm going to place this one in here. And then I've got this one I'm going to place here at the top. So I'm going to arrange these and layer these up until I like the way it looks. Okay, I think this is what I'm going to do. So I'm first going to take this off. I'm going to trace where these are so I know where to put them back. On this one, I'm going to add my adhesive to the top portion and leave the bottom portion open. And I want to make sure that I don't go past that score line. And then this one, I'm only going to add my adhesive to the left hand side. And then when I place this down here, I will adhere down this portion and just a little bit here. So I'm going to add my adhesive to this side and the bottom piece, and then just to this flower section right up here, because it will be on that ticket. Actually, I can add some to the ticket to make sure that I've got it all. I want that to rise up so the photo will slide underneath of it. So I'll do this by placing my piece right down at the edge on the bottom and the side, and then pressing down. And I'm going to come back in here and lift up slightly and put some adhesive here on the neck of the instrument, because it's also on that ticket, and that will strengthen it so that it doesn't end up breaking or bending. While that is drying, I'm going to place just a little tiny bit of adhesive here across the top of this chipboard piece and adhere this down to the pink cardstock right above the mat. And this one is popping up, so I'm going to set something on top of this to weigh it down and let it dry before I move on to the next step. Next, I have one piece of my darker blue cardstock that's 5 1/4 by 4 1/4. I'm going to place this here in the center of the page, covering the magnet. And then from the green paper, the 12 by 12, at the top here, I cut a piece that measures 5 1/4 by 3 inches. Then I cut it into 2 equal strips. So these are 1 1/2 by 5 1/4. I've used the corner rounder on the top 2 corners, and I'm going to place this one here. Then I've used the corner rounder on the bottom 2 corners, and I'm going to place this one here, and then we'll come back and add some embellishment. From my chipboard pieces, I have the bigger of the 2 lamp posts, and I'm going to be placing this here. So my magnet is here, and I'm going to place this right next to it, but I don't want it to be too far over because I want it to be hidden by my flap. So I'm going to place it right beside where my magnet is, but I don't want it to be caught in there. So you can see where your magnet is or feel it. You want to make sure that the lamp post is beside it, and we're only going to put adhesive on the top and the bottom so the photo will slide underneath. And then from the cut apart pages or the collectibles, I've cut this piece, and I'm going to place this here at the top. It's okay if it does stick out over this. I'm not concerned about that since it is the floral piece. So I'm going to be placing this here. I'm only going to be adding my adhesive to this top portion. And then I'm just going to eye it. You can measure this if you want it to be perfectly centered. But I'm going to place this down here so then my photo will tuck up underneath here and behind my lamppost. From the 12 by 12 paper, I have cut a piece to 5 1/4 by 7 1/4, and then I've rounded all 4 corners and inked my edges. This is going to go here right in the center of this flap. And then from the 12 by 12 paper, I have cut from the top right corner. That way I can use this image or this one if I choose. This is 5 3/4 by 9 1/2, and I've inked my edges, and we'll place this here on the base of the page. I'm going to take this piece from the collectibles papers and add just a very thin line of adhesive down the sides and the bottoms, and I'm going to leave the top open. And place this right over top of this card here to create a pocket. So I'm going to bring it down here towards the bottom edge, right over top of that same image on this larger card that's printed on the paper. Then I have this from the 8x8 papers that I'm going to place here in my pocket. And then I have this also from the collectibles that I'm going to place in here as well. So you can place it in front or behind. I'm going to leave this one in front because it matches over here. Now I'm going to take this one back out for a moment. I did cut one of my little tiny blue flowers from, I believe this is from the collectibles paper, and I'm going to stick it here at the top. I don't need one for the back because it is double-sided. You can put one on the back if you want to, but I'm just going to put this one here as a little sort of pull for the top of that journaling card. Next, I have this from the adhesive paper cutouts. So I'm going to remove the backing on it. And I will apply this here down at the corner of my pocket. And then I have this one from the adhesive cutouts. And I have two leaves, and I'm going to place them at the top up here. So I'm going to remove the backing first, then I will place all three pieces at the same time. I want to place my flower kind of up here in the corner, but I want my leaf, the first one to be here, and then the second one here. So I'm just going to layer all of those up right on that card. From my pink cardstock, I've cut a photo mat to 4 1/4 by 6 1/4. I'm going to start on the back side, and I've got a piece of my light blue paper that's cut to 4 inches by 6 inches, and I'm going to adhere this right here to the center of my photo mat. From my collectibles paper, I think this is from the collectibles, I've cut one of my flower pieces. It's a corner piece that I'm going to place here and here first. So I'm just going to get those tips on the paper. And then over here, I've got a little bit here and here that hit the cardstock. Then I've taken one of my pieces, this is from the collectibles, and I'm going to just adhere it down here to the edge of this piece down towards the bottom. So now my photo will slide behind that. Then for the front side, from the 12 by 12 paper, I cut across 4 inches and I cut down 7.5 inches. So go ahead and do that first. You'll have this piece on, so you want to cut this away, 4 inches by 7.5. I don't want you to trim yours. I want you to leave this in one full piece, and I want you to fussy cut around this edge. And we're going to use this piece. I'm going to fussy cut mine, and then I'm just going to adhere mine down. But what you're going to do with yours, you're going to add your adhesive, and you're going to start at the bottom, and you're going to adhere yours just here, and then your fussy cut piece will stick out above. I'll put mine on in just a minute, but you only want to add your adhesive on the piece that's on the front of the mat. Now that I have my piece fussy cut, you can see from the back it's the blue, and that's okay. I'm just going to leave it like that since it is the double-sided paper. Then I have this from the 12 by 12 paper. I've inked my edges, and I'm just going to adhere this down at the bottom of the photo mat in the center. And if you want to, you can add some other elements. If you want to add a flower, or if you want to add some of the adhesive paper cutouts, you can do that too, but I'm just going to leave my sentiment here. And this is going to be my photo mat. Once my photo mat is done, I'm going to place it on the page, and you'll see when this is closed, again, it will stick out a little bit, and that's okay. You can pull it up further if you like. I actually kind of like the look of that. I'm glad I did that. Maybe I will leave it there so that it is peeking out. So if that's where I want this to be, then I'm going to place this. This is going to be my piece that holds it, and that looks like it'd actually be a really good place. So I'm just going to trace the edge of this where it needs to go, and I'm just going to add adhesive on this bottom section so that it will catch that photo mat and stop it from sliding down any further. So I'll just add this right back where I had it. And then I'm going to move this out of the way and adhere this down. I do have some of these little adhesive cutouts, the flowers, and I'm just going to place this on top of the flowers on the chipboard piece just to give it a little bit of extra color. I like the shimmer of my paper cutouts, so I just want to give it a little bit of extra. And then when this is removed, I'm going to have the Eiffel Tower back here just as a decoration. So I'm going to go ahead and adhere this down to the center of the page. Once I have my piece adhered down, I will go ahead and place my mat back in my tuck spot. Going to close both of my flaps, then I'm going to come here and add just a little bit of decoration here, and we will be finished with the page. I'm going to be placing these pink flowers and the leaves here. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to move this to the side, and I'm going to add just a little bit of adhesive down the center of the leaves. And I'm going to place my flower stem right to that. And then I'm going to add this to my page. So just like previously, it's going to catch on the magnet, and I'm going to have it off to the side a little bit at an angle. So I'm going to add my adhesive to the back of my pieces first, being very careful that I don't put too much adhesive because I don't want this to ooze out from the sides when I place this. But I need to make sure that I have enough adhesive on here that it will stay down. So I'm going to take a minute and hold this down to get it to adhere. And then I will add some more pieces down at the bottom to cover the end of the stem. Now I have the coffee cup and the 2 macaroons that I'm going to place on the page. So I've got each of these. I'm just going to add adhesive to all 3 of them because I will be placing them quickly one on top of another. I want my coffee cup to cover the stem of my flower, but I want the green macaroon to be behind it. And then I'm going to place the blue macaroon on top of the coffee cup. So I'm just going to shape it around the stem so that it's hiding the stem. And then again, I'm going to hold this in place until this dries and make sure everything is adhered down to my page. And then I will be finished with the back of page 3. So that's it for this tutorial. And if you're new to the tutorial series, don't forget that all of the papers that I'm using from the Stamperia Ooh La La collection are linked in the description box below, so you can click on those links and go to the Scrap and Create website to purchase those and follow along. See you in the next tutorial.